בגלל המייס תישיע בנים תישיע בנים בסבי בסבי.
Once again, it's a pleasure to be able to share a message with you from this week's Parashat Shemot, which is the very first Parsha in the book of Exodus. And it is in this Parsha that we begin our long journey through the diaspora and ultimate enslavement in the land of Egypt. It has been said that there are individuals who have such charismatic personalities that when they walk into a room, they fill the entire space. It's been said that that can be a wonderfully exciting moment when we meet a person of such greatness. But we also know that that can be incredibly intimidating as well. It's all in the eyes of the beholder. In the beginning of this week's Parsha, we have the following statement. Uvnei Yisrael paru v'yishritzu v'yirbu v'yatzma'u b'ma'od ma'od v'timhalei ha'aretz otam. That the people of Israel, they multiplied and they grew and they became larger and they filled the entire land. And this, as a Jew, is something that is exciting to me. The idea of our demography growing, the idea that as a people we're not shrinking but growing, is exciting. But we can imagine that for those others who are experiencing us, that might become intimidating. Unfortunately, this isn't a dilemma we have to face in the modern era as the Jewish people continue to consolidate. But we can imagine the experience that Pharaoh was having when he noticed that the Jewish people were growing, and his fear was that they might band with the enemy and seek to destroy them. That fear maybe was only in his mind, maybe it was only in the mind of the Egyptians, but it was real. And so we can imagine what it feels like to be those who are empowered against those who have less power. Today, there is a modern challenge going on in the state of Israel in terms of demographics. The Arab population is growing. And so the Jewish people are faced in our Holy Land with a dilemma, a challenge. And that is, do we remain a Jewish democracy or do we remain a Jewish state? Recognizing that if we're going to live alongside our Arab neighbors in peace, they're going to have their own state. We see from the beginning of this week's Parsha the challenge of what it means to be greater in number. This week's Parsha offers us so many great suggestions as to how we might live our lives as a nation. It says that our personalities can be overwhelming. It says that our nation can be powerful, but we have to use that power productively. The Hasidic commentaries on this week's Parsha and in this suggestion draw the parallel to the moment when Noah was on the scene. And it says of the world, V'timhalei ha'aretz chamas, that the world was filled with hatred and violence. The question, when placed side by side with that text, is what are we going to fill the world with? And are we going to make room for someone else? This week's Parsha says we need to make room for the other. It says that we can be an intimidating force, but we have to use that for the good. We have to use our size, not to push others out of the way, but to make room for them. We have to do it nationally, and we have to do it personally. When we find ourselves in a room in which we've taken up too much space, maybe it's time that we do what God did in the creation of the world, consolidate a little, make room for the other. And when we make room for the other, we find there's room for all of us. This week's Parsha offers us a great lesson about contraction, to make room for the other, whether it's national or personal. And in that, we'll find our expanses even greater. Have a wonderful
בגלל המייס תישיע בנים תישיע בנים בסבי בסבי